What's going on, guys? This is Aaron, and as you can tell, if you look in my video selection, I've actually posted quite a few videos, and I wanted to start getting into a how-to videos series on various things, primarily focused on bow making. And in this video today, I'm going to do a short demonstration on how to straighten primitive arrows to get them as straight as possible. Now, it is good to note that, an arrow won't be perfectly straight. You may see that with aluminum arrows, carbon arrows, stuff like that. But as far as primitive arrows go, getting a perfect straightness is very difficult, especially if, as you can see in this piece of river cane, there's a lot of kinks in the nodes. Now, this is a river cane shaft, obviously, but with hardwood arrows, it's about the same procedure for straightening the shaft. Now, what I'm using here is just a basic stovetop, and I have the heat setting on the highest possible setting. And you can use the bigger one or the smaller one, it doesn't matter. What you're trying to do with river cane is, if you can see the nodes, there's small little nodes, almost like a bamboo. And you're going to want to heat those sections up to get it straight. Now, sometimes the river cane will actually be bent within the node. So basically, between nodes, there'll be a curved section. You can still heat that up, but there's a greater risk of fracture. So one of the first things you want to do is trim your arrow to length. Now, once you've trimmed it to length, my arrows, I prefer about 34 inches, which is pretty long, but that's the length I prefer. And I make sure that they're sized down. Now, with hardwood arrows, of course, you're going to be scraping and removing that down to the perfect diameter of what your bow is spined to, obviously with the draw weight. But with river cane, it's a bit different because you can't scrape down the shaft because of the hollow outer or inner portion. You can't scrape that down, because if you scrape it down, you're going to create weak spots within the shaft. So selection when cutting for your river cane material for arrows is critical. Now, this one's about 6/16 of an inch thick, and I'm shooting about 55, 60, 65 pounds, and that's about where I want it to be as far as spine, or not spine, but dimensions of the actual shaft. Now, with river cane, you cut it down green, you're going to want to cure it for, depending on the environment, if it's very humid and hot, about a month. But I've cured shafts within 2 to 3 weeks before. The ones I cut here, they're a brown color, a nice tan color, because these have naturally died out, and they've actually lost their moisture content. And what you want to look for is make sure there's no powdery weak spots. You'll feel it in the shaft. You'll feel kind of like a very weak, punky, almost like a rotten wood feel to it. You want to avoid shafts like that. This one is really good. It's a straight, relatively straight, strong shaft. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to sight down your arrow shaft, and you're going to look for the first kink, the first node that bends off to whatever side it does. And what you're going to want to do is heat that up, and you want to keep it constantly moving. And also what I recommend is, if you take some bacon grease or some vegetable oil and you rub the shaft down with that before you heat up the shaft, that prevents scorching. So you're going to want to heat that up. And as you can see, I'm moving it around. I'm twirling the shaft while I'm applying heat to it. And you want to do this for about 30 seconds until it's super hot to the touch. You don't want to get too hot. Like I said, it can scorch, and it can actually make the wood brittle. And like I said, you want to sight down the shaft, and you want to continue down the shaft as you straighten. So I'm getting this kink heated up. Just checking it periodically to see if it's hot enough. And that should be good. Another 5 seconds should be good. So as you can see, there's a kink in there, and while it's still hot, I'm going to sight down the shaft and straighten. Bend it in the opposite direction of where it's bending. And you want to bend it a few times very gently, And what you can do, and this applies with hardwood arrows too, once it's straightened, you can run it through the air, almost like you're hitting something with the stick. And this will help cool down the shaft and basically speed up the process of keeping it straight. And like I said, that's basically what you do. You go down the entire shaft straightening. You may have to re-straighten, you may have to reheat, but you want to get it as close to perfect as you can. Anyways, guys, that's the short video on just how to straighten arrows. I'm going to straighten these arrows up and basically just take care.